Welcome to the first video in my Gamer EDU series. We're going to be covering a lot of video games in this series and video game elements in the hopes of increasing engagement with your students and really enriching the content you teach. This first entry is a really exciting one, and it's a really strong one. It's set in ancient Egypt and ancient Greece. And as a 6th grade teacher that taught a lot of ancient histories within his history and ELA class, this one's really exciting for me. Before we start, if you really end up liking the video, give me a thumbs. If you want more content like this, so consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out. But without a further ado, let's travel back in time.
Welcome to Discovery Tour by Assassin's Creed, Ancient Egypt.
Discovery Tour is a dedicated game that lets visitors freely roam ancient Greece and Egypt so that they may learn more about the historical events there, the culture, and the daily life of citizens for these two empires. Students, teachers, non-gamers, and dedicated players can discover these eras at their own pace or embark on guided tours curated by historians and experts. The game is available on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and even Google Stadia. If you're not familiar with Stadia, it is cloud gaming from Google. So it even works on Chromebooks provided your Wi-Fi is good enough. It is a free game with the purchase of Assassin's Creed Origins or Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which can often be found on sale and less than $14.99. There's also an option to purchase Discovery Tour as a standalone game on PC for $19.99 each, though I suspect Ubisoft have other rates because there is an option on their website to email for educational information. This game does a really nice job of walking you through how to navigate the beautiful landscapes of ancient Egypt and ancient Greece. Each version has guided tours where you can either follow a guide of historical significance like Herodotus, Leonidas, or it has points of interest such as the pyramids of Giza. Of course, players can forego the guided part of this game and explore the vast open worlds of ancient Egypt and Greece. And let me tell you, both are very vast. Just looking at the map, you can freely and quickly travel to many destinations of interest marked by tour symbols. You can also just as easily, though not as quickly, traverse the map by foot, horse, even by sea. Beyond choosing conversation points, you do have the option to change the way your characters look, even your horse at some point in time. You also have the objectives that you can complete for different rewards, and you can just kind of roam around. I know my students would have loved this, and they would have been through the moon. There's just so many things that they can do, because who doesn't want to dive into the Nile River as Julius Caesar? In the next 3 sections of the video, we're going to go over our scores. We have our educational value score, our fun score, and our performance score. So all those will be averaged, and I'll give you my final thoughts on the video. The game is jam-packed with educational value. The open world alone is just amazing to experience. For example, as I walk up to the pyramids of Giza, I really got the sense and scope that I would not have gotten from just reading measurements and looking at pictures. And of course, I got to answer how difficult it would be to climb the pyramids. It turns out it's pretty difficult, but not entirely impossible. Some of you might think it might be impossible to get this running and kind of organized and to have your students play it, or to have you kind of play it in front of them, but it's not a full tilt commitment. Ubisoft does have preview videos of their big tours that you can watch on the website. They're linked in the description if you'd like to check them out. Otherwise, I give this an educational value score of a 9 out of 10. There's a lot to be had as far as adventuring and even discovery. There are also many traditional game elements that will engage your students, such as avatars, small achievements, and rewards. It is just fun to lose yourself in the beautiful worlds that Ubisoft have created. This is paired well with the educational tours and just makes for a unique experience. I can see some students wanting a little bit more with maybe more objective or difficult missions, but this is just so unique that they don't usually experience in education that they're going to dig it. So I gave this a 9 out of 10 for a fun score. This one's a little more tricky. As far as performance score or how well it runs, Discovery Tour runs great on Xbox systems and PlayStation systems. You could definitely connect either system to a projector and play the game with your students, observing or allowing them to take turns. Unless you have an Xbox or PlayStation to use in your classroom as a driving device, you have to rely on PC options or Google Stadia. These two options can be spotty if your PC requirements are not met, or if you don't have good enough Wi-Fi. Here's an example of how Discovery Tour runs on Google Stadia in the Chrome web browser on my home Wi-Fi. Not too bad, but not as crisp and clear as the rest of the footage you've been watching which is running on my personal laptop. I'm going to give the performance score a 7 out of 10 just because it's not immediately accessible, though Google Stadia does help make it very accessible and ready to use right away without any hardware requirement. Plainly put, Discovery Tour is just awesome. So averaged out and round up a little bit, it gets a final score of an 8.5 out of 10.